I look forward to sharing my story because I feel like in some way we all relate to everybody in the world. And I think for so long I thought that I didn't.
We are the Christian Women's Health Collective, and we have come together to bring a world of wealth and knowledge to you through fellowship, faith, health, and nutrition. What we need to tell everybody is how we came together and who we are. So I am Leanne, and I am an Alzheimer's prevention brain health coach.
I am Julie Spears, and I'm a kidney disease educator and grief coach.
I'm Breanne Sims, and I teach people how to fast.
Hey, I'm Sherry Johnson, and I'm a holistic health and life coach, and I help people up-level their health through clean eating and healthy habits, giving them hacks to do so they feel better emotionally and physically.
So as you can see, we are all in the health and wellness field in some way, shape, or form. And what brought us all together was a mastermind that we were in for Christian women. So do we want to talk just briefly about how we met?
Yeah.
At the beach.
Yeah.
Best place ever.
Best place ever.
Sun and sand.
I used to think I was a mountain girl until that weekend or week.
Yeah.
Not wait.
We might get you to come to Florida, you know.
I know. I was laughing
not just to visit.
I was laughing the other day when we had our call because Breanne and I are both living in places of the world that aren't warm and beachy, and we were like, I was thinking I was going to actually tell you on the call the other day, we should probably think about moving to the beach.
Yes, I like that idea.
Then we could actually all be in the same place.
Right, and take pictures on the beach.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
but
so
you live in, yeah. I was going to say, but you live in a very unique place in Alaska. I mean, that's.
Oh yeah.
It's just, yeah. I mean, and that's part of some of the things that we are dealing with is all the different time zones that we live in.
Right. So yeah, I'm up in Alaska, but Breanne was here not too long ago. She can tell you there's not really a beach here. We don't really have beaches here, and it's not
the ocean is there though. You do at least have the ocean.
Yeah,
I don't have that. I'm landlocked in the middle of the US in the Midwest where all the snow is. So closest I get is a lake.
Yeah. So you two
are welcome here anytime to this beach and sand, and I cannot wait to have you all. So
yes.
Come and
absolutely.
So we all met in Florida and got to know each other at our mastermind meetup there, and thus formed this beautiful collective that we've created, which I'll talk briefly about how this started. We were all standing together on the last day of the meeting and had this idea of finding a way to bring our different concepts and health together to form what we thought was going to be a webinar. And then my husband and I went paddleboarding with Julie and her husband, and Julie had this idea of putting together a membership group with the four of us, and here we are. And now we've morphed into creating this beautiful website with this incredible membership group and a new podcast to bring you all kinds of health and wellness information for free in four very different realms of healthcare.
The Health Collective, the Christians.
That's right. Yeah.
So who would like to go first?
Here's Julie's story.
I'm happy to share. So the reason I'm here is because at the end of the day, the only person that's going to stand up for you is you. And in some of my hardest times, and working with some patients in their hardest times, that's one thing that I have found is that you're the only one. And there are times in my life when I just needed a guide. I just needed, to know that there was somebody there that could say, hey, Julie, you know what? You're not alone. And, I'm not exactly sure what you're doing, but I'm here to support you and to pray you through and just to guide you through. And that's what I always needed. And that's what I want to be for everybody else is, if there's somebody out there who's struggling with kidney disease and they don't know what that looks like, and they're getting information from so many different directions, I want to be a guide. I want to be a resource that says, you know what, you're not alone. And let me help you through it. Let me give you some prayer. Let me give you some questions to ask and some things to ponder. I don't have your answers. And I think that's the one thing is that I looked for answers and finally I realized God's got my answers. Nobody else does. And, I put my expectations on things that they weren't realistic. I can't put my expectations in my husband and in a physician and in so many people. Um, I just had this core trust, and that's where I stayed. And I think getting out of that circle and finding resources and opportunity in the world it's changed me as a person. And I want to be able to share those with other people who are looking. They know there's more for them. They know there's something powerful out there. They know that there's, a God that, answers prayers, and, they know that there's these opportunities, but they don't know where to find them. Let's find them. Come join this community, come join this collective, and see, what opportunities are out there. And together, I think that we can do that. So I say all that to say that my story is part of losing my son. And that's when my life changed. And there's so much more to that I would love to share. But unfortunately now I can't, because I would just start crying. And, it's a lot. And I spent 20 years working in the kidney education field, educating people about kidney disease. And I just saw so much that you can't do anything about what you don't know. And you can't change what you've never been told to change. And in my mind, there are so many things that I wanted to do right, but I just didn't know how to do it. And losing Zach and comparing that to 1 hour of kidney education is just, just tears my heart up for people to know that they go through a lifetime of this illness, sometimes not a lifetime, but years, with a silent killing disease, and no one educates them in a timely manner. When the facts are that if 50% knew, we could make a change. If 50% knew to exercise and they took one step forward to implement exercise, it would change how they lived everyday life, because we know there's so many things that exercise brings, but they're not shared this information until it's too late. So that's just one of the things we would talk about, diet. And so I think for me, it's living with the grief for so long and just looking at how I grieve and how I know that how I saw people who were going through kidney disease and they were starting dialysis and they were suffering in their own life. I started grieving for them, really, and just trying to see, how can I change my education style to help somebody else? How can I live on people the way that I was lived on when I was grieving? How can I educate them to go further with healthcare and just to make a stand? So I think more so than my story, it's why I'm here, and that's why I'm here. And I hope there's more, I think I look forward to sharing my story, because I feel like in some way we all relate to everybody in the world. And I think for so long I thought that I didn't. I was like, what is wrong with me? Something's wrong with me. And the more I share, the more I find it's not me, it's all of us. And community heals people. And whether it's talking about kidneys or grief, or just sharing different tools and sharing recipes and sharing ideas, or learning different tips and tricks, I want to learn from you too. I don't just want to teach. So I'm excited to be here, and I cannot wait to learn and to share more, and just to be a part of a community that heals and teaches and grows and prays together.
That's amazing.
It's beautiful.
I love that.
And I know you're a kidney expert, but you talked a lot about Ryan. I'm sorry, Zach. I don't know why Ryan came into my mind. Your son. So I just wanted to ask you about the grief help that you have to offer, because Sherry shared her loss, the loss of her mother, and her daughter, having suicidal thoughts, and what that looked like to learn much later in life. And I know my own kid has her own issues, and I lost my grandmother, and then Bree almost lost her dad, and there's a grieving process and all of that. So what does your grief coaching look like? Because I think there's going to be a lot of people that could probably use something like that we talk to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's all, grief is it's just so hard. I think that's part of, why I held back from sharing part of my story is just, it's just an uncomfortable piece that we live with. And for me, I think the coaching is, how do you talk about it? And how do you cope with the changes that grief brings on us or really forces on us? And I think we have two ways. And for me, it was, do I let the grief control me? Or do I find ways to understand and learn the grief is not going to go away from me, but how do I implement it and find beauty in everyday life? And that was clinging to Jesus and just seeing, that all of the things that have happened in my past life doesn't define me. And grief doesn't have to define me, but it's really taken a lifelong of just a lot of trials and challenges. And the grief coaching is really, I think, taking a life of myths and small circle thoughts and turning them into Jesus's eyes, and how does he see me as a person and how he views me, and taking just steps and techniques from so many other people, like meditation. I thought meditation was so, wrong, like don't meditate, woo, but no, it's changed how I view me. And it really begun me visualizing, even visualization. I use a lot of visualization because who I thought I should be or needed to be was based on what I saw others be. And that's not it. So, I spent, a life by myself. I raised myself pretty much. No TV, no telephone. I ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and cereal. And going through the kidney part of it, and hearing you guys speak, how we were raised and who we are is just not who we have to become. And the health journey and eating clean is, I kept failing, even, like grieving for Zach, and just everything I tried, I would just fail. And I was like, Jesus, why can I not get ahead with anything? Like I want to exercise, and everything I tried would be like, this is not for me. Or I want to eat clean. Well, okay, Diet Coke. I'm drinking Diet Coke. The box says healthy. Am I doing it right? Like, please. And then, there were people just saying, eat. Just, I don't care if you eat a cake, just eat something. And what really needed to happen was for people to say, let me pray with you. Let's pray that God will feed you the answers, that let's pray for you to hear words of wisdom. Let's pray for you to define who you are in God's eyes. Let's pray you to the new you, not here, let me shove you some more carbs down your throat so that, your blood sugar could rise a little more and your blood pressure can go a little higher. And it wasn't out of, anything negative. It was out of love. Mm-hmm. But I know that's a long way to answer that. But I think 20 years in the kidney industry in healthcare and seeing, and then going through 5 diagnoses in a 5-year period, and all of them were not true, and being shoved with medication for rheumatoid arthritis that I didn't even have, having a kidney removed and living with stage 3 kidney disease, and watching my child go through drug addiction and not being able to get help. And, really, I think my coaching program is when you find Jesus, and it's so hard because I think for me, I did not know what to ask. It wasn't that I didn't believe, but it was, I was looking for miracles and I was looking for answers and I was looking for dreams that I didn't even have. So, how is he going to answer anything if I don't have anything? And that's my coaching program, is finding who you are and seeing a little bit more of who you are within yourself and finding Jesus to show you and to guide you. And I'm really excited to share just some of the techniques and some of the things that I've learned with other people. And, nobody can help somebody go through a grieving process, but there are so many tools and resources that can help yourself. So, yeah, I cannot wait to be here and to learn more and to share more. And just hearing all of you talk, there's so many similarities. And the coolest part about it is growing up, 46 years, 42 years, feeling so isolated and alone. And the beauty is I'm not, and I never was,
Exactly. I felt really alone on my health journey when I started such a long time ago because people weren't making health a priority then, or maybe it was just the people I was surrounded by. I was living at the South at the time and everything's fried down there and everything's, use all the products, all the smells, all the, and so when I stopped doing all those things, it was like, what's wrong with you? And it makes you feel isolated, making healthier decisions for your family. And so that's one of the things that I'm super excited about this group. I'm trying to cry. I'm sorry. It's just helping people make the right decisions and not feeling alone in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not a luxury. It's not a luxury thing to go and meditate or to do yoga or to clean eat. It is a sacrifice. It is a huge sacrifice to make these changes. But when you push through, there's so much beauty on the other side. But I'm feeling what you're talking about. It is so hard, and it is very isolating. Almost like
it is. It's kind of like you're drowning a little bit when you're fighting, but you're fighting for your family and your health, And as a mom, you all know, it's you do what you have to do to take care of your kids.
You touched on something I think is really important that we should make sure that we are letting everyone know. And that's the biggest thing, is that, making those huge changes in our lives requires making big changes in other areas of our lives. Because I know from my own experience, when I started making big changes in my life, which I'll talk a little bit about when I share my story, I didn't get support. I didn't get support from family. I didn't get support from longtime friends, because they didn't see the necessity in my changes, right? They didn't want to change their lives. So why am I changing my life? And if I'm going to change my life like this, I lost friends. I lost, I never had a great relationship with my mom back then, but it got even worse. And so I think that one of the things that I want to make sure that we're offering in this collective is, new relationship opportunities, new formations of healthier relationships, helping people understand how to set healthy boundaries in their life, because there are going to be people that want to drag them down. My husband and I had this conversation not too long ago, not about health, but just about, friendships in general. When people feel like they're being left behind, they will do whatever they can to bring you back to them in any form that and they'll make it look attractive. They'll make it look like they just want to be fun and spend time with you. But the subconscious, I think, of that is that they are just trying to bring you back to what they're familiar with, because they're not willing to move forward and they don't want to grow with you. They just don't want you to grow. And I think that that's one of the biggest setbacks that we have, especially when it comes to people that we're really close to, that we're afraid of losing. We have to be willing to lose those people, and hopefully they come around when they see the changes. But so I really am glad that you touched on how alone it felt, because it will be lonely if you try to do it alone. And that's what we're here for.
Yeah. And I mean, I found that too with because I was in a very unhealthy field. You know,
Oh, yeah.
my people
yeah.
eat out of, you know, vending machines, for God's sakes, and
Yes.
you know, and soda and whatnot. And I was never a soda drinker, but they, I got made fun of, you know, in the couple of years before I left that company. And I didn't even talk about that part because that was just another God story about becoming a health coach. But it, they would make fun of me for my green smoothie.
Mhm.
And ironically, it was a girl who had a lot of health issues, needed to lose weight, and was in HR all the time about people doing things, you know, that were not right. I'm like,
Yep.
girl, I can report you. But yeah, it's like you're the health geek freak, and people are like, yeah,
Mhm.
you're an anomaly.
Yeah.
So I have to say, the meditation part you talking about, you know, being made fun of. I made fun of people at one point in time, not in a mean way, but just in a way of, oh, I'm not doing that. Or, oh, and even, you know, talking about paleo or fasting, you know, there's this limited amount of belief of what you see versus research versus know. And so I think too, you know, some of the poking fun and made fun of for me was I didn't really know enough in some ways. So I felt isolated already. But then for the people that thought they knew, when they would share their feedback, I just kind of sunk down in my chair like, oh, I don't know anything. You know, even though I was the one doing so much research. So yeah, I don't know why that came to mind. I guess it's just, I think having a group where you can have an open heart and an open mind and just lay down all the expectations and share what you think so that there's more of a conversation about it rather than a heated discussion, do you know, about, oh, it's okay. You don't have to do that, you know, or having some kind of like bad feeling for the desire to change. Anyway, I think that's kind of interesting. You know, is it for a diet or is it to feel better and be healthy? And they're totally separate reasons. It's not, you know, it's to be healthy.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of Julie's Story. To hear Brienne's story, click the second episode.